Next two segments are sort of interconnected, and they're going to focus on multiple aspects of energy, kicking off with how today's marinas are embracing the need for the generation of renewables. To run this panel, I'm going to ask ICOMIA former president and chairman of Empire Marinas Group, Darren Vaux, to join me on stage. As we all know, Darren is a world leader in marina infrastructure development with vast experience in the field of environmental compliance and renewable energy integration. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, last but not least, Darren Vaux. Yeah.
Buonasera.
It's number one.
Grazie per la passione. What's it? Patience? Passione. Thank you all very much for your patience. So we are, in fact, the last session. Just ask, we've got it in two parts, so I'll bring the speakers up in two separate sections. But if I could ask the speakers for the first panel to come up, please. That will be Karl Oscar Tjernström. He is the co-founder of Secfuel, and he'll talk about sustainable fuels and future-proofing of marina infrastructure. Thank you, Karl Oscar. If I could have Franco Ceroici, I think I've got that right, close enough? Franco, thank you. He's the managing director of Plus Marine, and he'll talk about marinas evolving as energy ecosystems. And Camille Lopez, who's the founder of High Plug, and she'll be talking about decarbonising marina insights in the Western Mediterranean. So please thank our panel. Okay, so I'm going to kick off this session this afternoon. Take a seat, guys, and we'll. So the way that we're going to run this is each member has a short presentation to go through, but I'm going to start off and set the scene. And that scene is about 5 years ago when ICOMIA embarked on its most ambitious research project. That was about setting the scene and undertaking an independent study to look at the way that we decarbonise the propulsion systems of the marine industry. We worked through an exercise, we engaged an independent consultant, Ricardo, it was fully peer-reviewed, and we did the release of that particular study at Metstrade in November of 2023. We spent 2024 going around the world and presenting this report that basically was 562 pages long, printed on recycled paper, of course. But we presented this report around the world to basically give the industry the ability to actually understand, with the facts, how we actually decarbonise our industry. And what was interesting about that was that we undertook the review of 5 different sources of energy. So we benchmarked against fossil, diesel and gasoline, and then we looked at alternatives, full electric, hybrid electric using drop-in fuels as a combustion source, and then hydrogen both as a combustion source and within fuel cells. And we looked at it with 9 different craft types. So from the smallest craft, right through sailing craft, right up to a 19-metre motor cruiser. So 9 craft types, 5 fuel types, which meant we did 45 full cradle-to-grave life cycle assessments of using the whole supply chain, the operating phase, the end of life. We looked at all of these different things to basically get the benchmark to understand what the carbon footprint was. And the ultimate result of that, not surprisingly, was that there was no one-size-fits-all solution. And the reason being is that there's an enormous amount of carbon that actually sits within the manufacturing phase of boats. And the other thing about recreational craft was that we had the ability to draw on the user data, which meant that most recreational craft have only got engine hours of 50 per year. It sounds very low, but if you think about the way that people use boats in our marinas, if you go out 20 times and you spend an hour motoring to your anchorage, you anchor up for the weekend and come back, that's only 40 hours a year. And so the reality of that meant that when we came to this conclusion that there was no one size fits all, we then moved to the next step of that interpretation. And that means that we built an industry, and the global economies are built on access to fossil fuels, which were cheap energy-dense sources of energy. The alternatives, whether they're biofuels, electricity, hydrogen, and all those sorts of things, don't come in the same abundance, which means that the innovation that we require is we need all of these technologies to decarbonise our industry. There is no clear winner because we need them all. And so today's session is about actually looking at this, and we're very fortunate to have some key players, some key innovators, some key entrepreneurs that are going to share their experience over these 2 sessions to give you the context. So that's the framework. We're here to try and look at what we do as marina owners and operators to say, how do we prepare ourselves for the future in how we deliver energy to the various types of craft, because the reality will be we need innovation, we need alternatives, we need efficiency, we need technology, we need all of those parts. So that's the framework. So we'll get the first speaker up. Karl Oscar, if you would like to come up and with your presentation. I think the clicker should be there. I'll leave that to you.
So it's backwards. Okay, so see if we can get some slides going here. I see the presentation coming up here slowly, so
There we go.
I'll be patient. Yeah, so my name is Karl Oscar Tjernström. I'm not going to ask you to pronounce that. It's probably one of the hardest to pronounce names in this session. I'm co-founder of a company called Secfuel. We founded 6 years ago, so slightly before you guys started on the Propelling Our Future study. We focus entirely on fuel infrastructure. So I'll talk about sustainable fuels, or actually sustainable drop-in fuels. But as you'll see, main focus of my presentation will be on upgrading marine fueling infrastructure, which is, as you'll hopefully understand as we go along, really the key enabler here. Obviously, like Darren said, there are a lot of different ways of decarbonizing. I'm a very pragmatic guy. I like solutions that work right here, right now. I mean, it's always fun to talk about future solutions that might work, might come into play in 10, 15, 20 years. I think when we look at the city we are in today, Venice, we don't have time to wait 15, 20 years for technical solutions that might work. We need solutions that work right here, right now. The whole reason I do this, this goes back to what Frank Hugelmeyer said this morning about experiences. I do this because I want my kids to be able to experience boating the same way I did as a kid, growing up and during my adult life. And I think the only way to get there is to make sure our industry becomes truly sustainable. So before we move into the presentation, I'm going to ask if you, there aren't that many left, so this is not as statistically significant as it would have been this morning. How many of you are marina operators? Can you raise a hand? Oh, pretty good. How many of you run fueling operations at your marinas? One or all of them? Okay. How many of you have a renewable alternative? 2, 3, 4. Not bad. Statistically, you're way over average, but that just makes me happier. So, obviously, the main problem here is the infrastructure. We're talking infrastructure from the 60s, 70s. Sometimes when we see equipment that looks nice and clean, it's usually from the 80s. As Darren said, this is a fossil-centric infrastructure. It's built for a world where we had 2 fuels. You could either have a petrol engine or a diesel engine. The reality now is much, much more complex, and the infrastructure simply isn't ready for it. So even though some of you have renewable options, the access to HVO 100 renewable diesel or XTL is very, very limited. And obviously this doesn't just hinder the uptake and the penetration of these fuels, but it really hinders awareness. If the fuel isn't available where you refuel, how are you going to get to know about it at all? So our solution on the right is a mobile self-service marine fuel station. Essentially, for the boater, it works the same way like refueling your car. You'll pull up more. You have modern fuel dispensers with card readers or app control. It really feels like as convenient experience as refueling your car. Inside, it has a 60,000 liter capacity divided into 6 tanks, which gives us the opportunity to distribute niche fuels, not just petrol or gasoline, but HVO, different types of petrol options, and blends of fully renewable and fossil, which sometimes is necessary for tax reasons or distribution reasons. This is fully remote, so it has remote monitoring, remote operations. I accidentally said to Baxter Underwood this earlier that we have remote replenishment, which felt like kind of a Star Trek thing. We would beam down the fuel, which we don't, but we have automatic replenishment signals sent to the fuel company, so automatic replenishment. It's approved by all major fuel companies for direct delivery, which is absolutely key, because in most of the cases, if your equipment isn't approved, you have to buy fuel from distributors. And what's important to understand is that the renewable fuels are premium. They're the premium products of the fuel companies. Fossil is a commodity. So they protect the renewable fuels like they're premium products. Same way Apple would do with the iPhone or Gillette would do with the razor blades. This is a premium product that you can only buy directly from them. So having approved equipment is absolutely key. It's also compliant with all key EU environmental and safety regulations. It's DNV verified, just like a ship. So this is our first demo version on the right. So it's a 24-meter long full composite pontoon that we moor against the dock and fill with a truck. So here you can see we can moor two 40-foot boats on each side. So in essence, you can refuel 4 boats simultaneously. On the left, it lies waiting to be put into operations in Dalarö in central Stockholm archipelago. And this is going to be our first own station that we own and operate ourselves, which is actually where we're going with this business. And I think that's because we realized that it was simply taking too long time. We've been trying to pitch this idea to harbors, ports, municipalities, marinas for a few years, and the interest is massive, but taking the step and making the investment is much harder. So we decided we're going to do it ourselves. So we're embarking on a journey to build our own network of unmanned fuel stations, obviously in collaborations with ports, marinas, and operators, and that's why we're here, to find partners. So we have a couple of really cool, iconic network locations coming up. We've signed an MOU for Port Hercule in Monaco. The one on the right is obviously my favorite, because that's in the center of Venice of the north, so Stockholm, where I grew up. So this is downtown in a freshwater lake. There's also a freshwater reservoir for all of Stockholm. So this is totally unique that we can put it in a freshwater reservoir anywhere in the EU. So if everything falls into place, we'll be opening that before summer next year with the grand opening. So obviously, when you're here, you have everyone listening. I think what's important here in this transition is that we need help. I mean, we're a small Swedish company. We're facing a lot of regulations, a lot of taxation issues, and I think this is where ICOMIA can play a huge role in really pushing this message across to anything from the European Union here in Europe, but also across the world. We need harmonized legislation, we need harmonized taxation, and I think we need basically people to understand that HVO and renewable fuels is, in my opinion, the only way of decarbonizing the marine industry in our lifetime. So that's it from me.
Great, thank you very much. Karl Oscar, I do have one question for you, just in relation to the study that we did, the ICOMIA study. One of the things is that the existing fleet, so the existing products that are out there versus new boats. Obviously, one of the most effective way to decarbonise the existing fleet is with drop-in fuels, because that way you don't have the carbon footprint of replacing propulsion systems and things like that. Do you see that there's a pathway? Because one of the difficulties is you've got the fossil fuel supply chain, which is very mature, and then you've got the biofuel supply chain, which is seen as that premium product. Part of the pathway just says to get to a sort of carbon footprint was to have blended fuels over time. So you're talking about 10%, 20%, 30% as the supply chain matures. So do you see that as something that's going to come through in terms of the way it works?
I mean, that's an obvious intermediate solution. I think we've seen that example in Sweden where we had a blending mandate. So we blended up to, I think, 34% renewable in the diesel. It had a huge impact on fuel prices, inflation, and so on. Personally, I'm a marketing guy. I think we need to make consumers take the decision. And if we supply the fully renewable fuels, actually the price difference isn't as big. And you know, from a supply chain perspective, they're very, very similar. So the companies that produce the renewable fuels also produce the fossil ones. So in our case, we get them in the same fuel truck, just different compartments.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to welcome up Franco.
Hello.
Should be on. There you go.
Okay. Dear delegates, dear friends, buonasera. My name is Franco Ceroici from company Plus Marine. We are based in Italy. And for the last 25 years, I have been dealing, is here, this one? I have been dealing with marine equipment and especially selling pedestals for electricity and water for marinas, campsites. Lately, we sold quite many fast charging systems for cars, but also for yachts, especially now in Saudi Arabia. In Jeddah, we just delivered this week 19 units, 150 kilowatts. So the discussion about electricity in a marina can be divided, I think, in two parts. One is the consumption of electricity for the internal services of the boats, and the other, it's the consumption of electricity to allow the electrical boat to run. So this discussion here, it's related to both. It's important to speak about what was important until yesterday when we were not talking about electrical boats, which are becoming part of our everyday life. What is important is to understand that marinas are evolving into energy ecosystems. They're becoming bigger and bigger. Electrical cars are coming in. Electrical boats are coming in. Boats are slowly constructed with only electrical ovens, electrical kitchens, so consumptions are very big. And the integration of these renewable energies is very important. Until a year or two ago, I was a little hater of the owners of the electrical cars. But in the last year, I installed my own solar panels at home, so somehow I became independent. I started to believe a lot in this. I bought a hybrid car for now, but I fell in love with an electrical one, so I am becoming one of those people I was looking so strangely from away, and I think it's a great thing. So smart infrastructure enable cost reduction and sustainability. I also refitted my house, and I see the bill in the end of the month. It's very little now that everything is like it should be, no? But when I am in the boat shows talking to marinas, every time I'm shocked by the same phrase I heard about the behavior of the customers of the marina, of how they are angry because the customers, when the electricity especially is free of charge, they abuse about power consumption. They keep their air conditioning on, they wash the boats without a gun, leaving the pipe there running. I cannot believe. My parents teach me to always switch off the light, to turn off the water when I wash my teeth. This is what I'm teaching now to my child. So that's why I added this morning, and I asked for the modification, one of these PowerPoint, to awareness and eco-education. So this is one example of the flyers you see in the toilets in a marina, no? Where people are, the hotels are inviting you to be a little bit aware, you know, to be careful when you wash your teeth, to be careful about the air conditioning in the room. I visited a lot of marinas, and I don't remember seeing so many of these kind of invitations to behave better in a marina, no? So I saw that there are many marina managers here. So maybe I didn't visit your marinas, maybe I didn't notice in your marinas this communication to the customer. So like you invited before, how many of you are using this kind of messages to the boat owners to try to make them become a little bit more aware of the eco-friendly by the raise of the hand? No? How many of you are using this hotel type of communication? Good. Nice. Good. And I think it's important, because if you don't have it inside, at least trying to remind them, no, it's important, because electricity, water, these are all sources that we need to care about, no? So in these last 5 to 10 years, a lot of old marinas started to upgrade their power, their pedestals, by adding meters to meter electricity and water. So we noticed that if you cannot change the behavior of your customer, if you cannot have them behave better with the electricity you are giving them for free, then unfortunately you must hit them in their pockets. And that's where things change a lot. Change a lot in the sense that from the marinas we supplied, so the marinas where we made the upgrades from giving electricity free of charge to charging electricity to the customer, the year after, the consumption of electricity and water dropped by 50%. So awareness is one important thing. So trying to invite customers to behave better, to be more eco-friendly, to be more sustainable. If it does not go in the if you can do it in the nice way, then you do it in a little bit tougher way, no? By touching their money, no? And that's for sure will help. And all this helps to lower the carbon footprint, no? And to lower the consumption of electricity and water in the end, no? So then comes the discussion that we are talking about, no? Once you try to do what you want, what you can to lower your carbon footprint, then you start to think what can I do with my marina to try to use the energy that is in the air, no? One energy source is the sun. We have customers who I notice very interesting pontoons, or let's say customers that use turbines under the water, because in the certain places where they are, the currency under the pontoon is very strong. And we speak about, like I did in my house, I spent 15,000 euros. I knew I will need 5 or more years to get the return of this investment, but in the meantime, I'm using a source that is there. It's cost nothing. I'm not damaging the nature because of that. It produces a lot of power. A module like this, for example, was studied about 10 years ago. We started to work on this modular, we called it smart shadow, because on one hand, allows the boat owners to walk on the pontoons in the shadow. I noticed, for example, some marinas in Croatia, Marina Frapa, installed this kind of shadow just to give a better service to their owners, no? To don't walk half a kilometer in August under the sun. And in the same moment, you practically can create power by the use of this shadow in an integrated system. We are doing this in this moment with Ingemar, and the product is there, is ready. If anybody is interested, we are here to talk about it. But the important thing is that each of these modules, especially in marinas that are not big, that don't have a lot of land, or that don't have land at all, but would like to use solar energy to get the power, alternative power, let's say, can install this and can get, as we said, on average, about 3 kilowatts per module of pontoon. So it's 12 meters of pontoon. It's an interesting alternative, no? Besides all the solar panels you can put anywhere in your marina, and you can then grow the production of the power, no, in your marina. So as I said, this is a very compact, modular, and elegant product that integrates in the structure of the aluminum structure or stainless steel, whatever. Aluminum is better because it's lighter, but integrates also the pedestal, so what normally stays in the pedestal, so the sockets, the breakers, the water, the inverters, so that on the other hand, each of these modules can work separately from the other. So in case there is any problem with one module, all the others works anyway. And then, of course, you can connect to the grid, and you can then, depending on where you live, you can then see what other benefits you can get out of this product. But as I said, since the sources are there, the technology is there, it's here. I notice other companies are proposing similar system. Now the only thing is to see when the first customer will decide to go for this option. We are open for discussions. There are a few others I notice in Smart Marina in Monaco's proposing this kind of system. And as I said, if it's for the electrical boats, then it's a different story. If you decide to go electrical, of course you must give the power. Now, for me, what is important is that we all remember that boating and marinas, we are not a very eco-friendly, very big friends of the nature and of ecology. No? So we must do whatever we can to lower our carbon footprint and to be as sustainable as we can in any possible way. So that I'm happy to see that we are talking a lot about this in the last 5 to 10 years, and I see that many marinas are really doing this, and I think it's the only way to don't be hated by the people living around the marinas and by the people looking at us, let's say, as maybe a black sheep, no? So I'm very happy, and congratulations to all the marinas that are improving all these sustainability projects. It's very nice to see this.
Thank you, Franco. And Camille, if you'd like to come up, please.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Camille Lopez from consultancy based in Monaco for decarbonization in maritime industry, yachting and commercial sites. We're working with marinas and shipyards, so understanding the loop of boat needs and then marina challenges. Today's topic is about a more sustainable future for marinas, and at Hyplug we love facts and numbers, not long explanation about what we can do for marinas, but what we've done already. So I'm still just waiting for the... Okay, here we go. So today we've brought fact from Monaco Port study released only 3 weeks ago. We've worked for them behind the scene the last 18 months. That's why basically none of you is aware of this study. And we got interesting number of concretely in the shipyards for boats and yachts aiming to go to Monaco Port, what is the current energy mix? Once we talk about more sustainable marinas, it means mix of energy. It's quite like automatic. Speaking about electricity, we have meters for small units, and it's very different than for bigger vessels. We have low power, we have high power. Even in one energy, we can get different proposals. So here you can see actually what's moving on. If you focus on the 39% diesel plus the 27% electric, it's including as well hybrid boats and hybrid yachts. Meaning we have a big part of the industry concretely moving as well for biofuels matters. So even when you read electric, for example, it doesn't mean it's only fully electric boats. So you can have as well biofuels and electric. I point the fact of all this mix of energy because it's very important to understand that we cannot go for one focus only, otherwise we're missing part of users in the marinas. So here are the results for the 3 main marinas of Monaco, as you can see on the left side. And the world is hearing a lot about hydrogen and methanol. There are energies we absolutely work on for the clients. Here, concretely, H2 is about 8%. And when we speak about hydrogen in a boat, it can mean as well we store as methanol. So one boat can need methanol, then use H2 inside. It's possible. Or they can need H2 in your marina. In any case, in this situation, it's representing a small part of the users still existing, but then it means you need to have the right infrastructure. It can be short-term only bunkering by trucks, for example, and then longer vision having some infrastructure where you bring the energy and you have only permanent dispenser. So we have a lot of adaptations. What we have done so for the Monaco part is first preliminary study going for gas H2 dimensioning. So we had production, storage, distribution on site, capacity to go up to 800 kilograms storage. I cannot mention which marina exactly in the international Monaco ports because it's confidential, but it's one of the marinas they are managing. The second aspect we have is the electrification low power. We are speaking about 99 berth, low power 7 kilowatts with mitigation and balance when we plug the boat. And the fast charging is about 5 supercharger, one full for 400 kilowatts and the 2 others 400 split it in 2, so 4 200 kilowatt capacity maximum and 1 400. The biofuel HVO, it's about storage distribution, very common and close to the geo storage condition and infrastructure. Of course, it can mean a blend, so mixing geo with this HVO, which is a biofuel. You can have 10% biofuel, and you can go up to 100% biofuel. Again, it's depending on where your marina is located and what your users are looking for. There isn't a right answer for everyone. Maybe some of you will go for a low blend because you cannot, commercially speaking, sell to your clients a big price difference. Maybe some others will have the right users to go for 100%. And you're not bad if you go for a small blend because at least you make a first step. So that's all the purpose of transition, starting somewhere, adapted to your use. For the, I've just mentioned the truck bunkering procedures. The reason why is there are a bit more complex energies to manage daily basis. So the choice of Monaco was to say, we're not going to invest tomorrow morning in liquid hydrogen, gas hydrogen, methanol station right now, but we want to be able to bunker the yacht if we get a request from a client and not kind of checking, thinking, oh my God, what is liquid hydrogen? Let's send the boat somewhere else. So that's the work we've done, regulation with the government, environmental authorities and local authorities, firemen as well, to have procedures set it up. When the boat are asking, they know exactly how to proceed with those energies and have access to the quay. Another study, close but same, I wanted to show numbers. At least you have the facts. It's a bit more straight to the point. It's Saint-Tropez Marina, so this study have been released in November 2023 already, and was the same mindset to understand the question of the client was, does it make sense for us in our marina to invest in H2 project because politicians are pushing for it? You have the answer in front of your eyes. 7% of the shipyards represented in Saint-Tropez ports and new shipyards having clients for boats in Saint-Tropez, 7% only might have H2 technology for few kilograms, meaning like between 10 and 30 kilograms per boat. So investing in heavy infrastructure, no, it doesn't make sense. Being ready to bunker on demand, yes, it makes sense. So same, we move more for movable procedures than going for investment straight away. And here you have another one, which was a public call. So back same in October 2023. This one was for the Gulf of Saint-Tropez. So they own 5 marinas. For the one of you may be familiar with Côte d'Azur, it's Saint-Tropez, Grimaud, Sainte-Maxime, Cogolin, and Cavalère. And those marinas, same, the question was, what can we store? They wanted to have production initially, but then the project moved to inland production. So we focus only as consultancy on storage and distribution. And I've just listed for you the 4 main aspects, basically, which are considered once we go for hydrogen study. The debate is giving you the safety distances mostly. So when you hear we cannot bunker with H2, it's like crazy distances. Well, back to the point of my introduction, what is your marina? What is the setup, infrastructure, and what are your users? If you bunker very, very low debit, we can manage with short distances, meaning 4 to 6 meters from the plug, which is not something crazy. If you're asking me to bunker 4 times faster, then we might have a problem in the marine ports. But always, what I just want to share with you today is that everything is really depending on your setup, your project, your approach of the risk management in your marina, and what the users need. That's it for me today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Camille. Shirley, I just wanted to check, was there any questions that came through the system at all for this group?
There is a couple of questions, although obviously we're quite short of time,
Yep.
Darren. Maybe we'll answer them on the system, if that's all right.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Okay, could you all thank our panel, please? Thank you.